every time we embark on a new album or a new video, it's a life experience and it brings us all together, and the feedback we get is always enough to feel motivated to continue following our intuition.
It's like a Disney movie. Makes you feel really good and really sad and really good and really sad. You gotta watch all of them and then keep making them.
Having the inclination to put in the time and resources to working on the next thing just takes a lot, and as you get older, sustainability and longevity. I think it was a safe statement to make, and I would say it again, you know, who knows if you're going to see us again after Tough Baby, you never really know. That being said, I think like also having a bit of optimism is important, and we don't want to be fatalistic in the way that we talk about our art. I think that, you know, there's always room to create, there's always room to discover, and that's what life is all about.
Sometimes maybe this thing won't last forever, so you kind of put your best efforts in when you have it. And you know, we see friends come and go, people pass away, and things kind of that had potential just kind of disappear. So I think you're almost giving up to the idea that, you know, we're going to put our best effort all the time, whether or not something is going to come outside of it afterwards. So I think that without being so fatalistic, it's also just like a respect to and love for the art, making sure that you're giving 100% and not thinking, oh, this one will be our passive album and then we'll work harder on the next one. It's never going to be like that.
There's no guarantees in this kind of work, in this kind of industry at all. You could be the best musician, the best artist, most technically this, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we're not trying to make the next hit record. We're not trying to make this platinum, blah, blah, blah. We're just trying to be ourselves, and it just takes grit, really.
You grow and you acquire new tastes and you experience things that change you, and that is kind of the idealism that we want to instill in the way that we approach creativity with Crack Cloud, is like documenting the ebb and flow and the constant flux of how we connect with the world and with culture and with music, and it just gets boring to try and fixate on one thing, I think. And I think people can relate to that when it comes to the whole spectrum of our sensory experience, and music is no exception for us. I would like to grow, and I would like our audience to grow with us. It's that kind of open-mindedness that I appeal to as an artist. And at the end of the day, we didn't sign up for this for a paycheck or for a job. We signed up in a more primal way. It's always been an outlet for us, first and foremost. So please join us for the ride if you feel so inclined.
And I also think that's pretty authentic to our true selves, and I think it's important to find that authenticity, because that's what got Dry Measure, and that's what got Pain Olympics, and it's what's going to bring Tough Baby. It's just, you know, it's not us trying to think about the type of album we want to make to appease Pitchfork or anything, you know.
We're only in it for the money.
I think of rock band less of a leader, and I think rock band more of like, it has to be more democratic. Because there's four egos that like, you know, if I'm not in the band, this band isn't a thing anymore. Whereas like when we do Crack Cloud, we kind of know that there's an evolution and like different eras and moments of people's artistry coming in, influencing it, and then if they leave, it doesn't really influence it that much anymore. And that's an appealing part of the project. It's understanding the longevity, playing on meta ideas, and try to get into people's headspace, not just on a superficial level, just music and visuals. It's kind of just like how you move through life. People coming to a show and seeing a new lineup every time, it's even our biggest fans won't know who's going to be there, type of thing. So it's kind of like, it's all keeping people guessing and wondering, and just to, you know, allow people to experience the art differently at different times. With those cover art and stuff, it's very subjective. You know, you only kind of need some clues for people to make up their own mind about those type of things, but definitely touching on like, even we have a culture now of people being complete fanboys and idolizing just this micro content that becomes their whole life.
I grew up in the 90s. I was recalling my own memories of being a kid in my room and just kind of my idolization of pop culture during that time, and the utility that music had for me, both as a saving grace as well as a way for me to carve out some sort of identity, however fabricated. I think that what we touch base on with Tough Baby is kind of the engineered illusion of pop culture and of music and the way that we consume it. And as a child, you're especially vulnerable to these illusions and narratives that you associate with, and I'm not saying that's a negative thing, I'm just saying that especially as a product of Western culture, media definitely informed me and assisted me in my growth and development. And so Crack Cloud on the walls of this bedroom, the posters kind of represent that kind of caricature of like, you buy into an illusion. You find solace in the construct of an idol or whatsoever. Just wanted to play on that a little bit. Lisa, who's on the cover, is my cousin. She's 14, so it felt fitting just generationally. Crack Cloud, it was born out of recovery, but it's also an ongoing investigation. This looks like moving forward because, like, speaking candidly as an addict, you don't just do this and then you're sober. It's like something that you have to live with for the rest of your life. Really, we feel like we're in a place where we're not really, there are no limitations. We really celebrate that, and you hear it with the brass and the strings. And I mean, I think that Crack Cloud, for better or worse, has become a maximalist sound, and that maximalism comes from just a gratefulness and appreciation for the infrastructure that we have available to us.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to this sense of authenticity. You know, you listen to the first few EPs, it's authentic as fuck because it's literally in that house. We only had one drum set, like one bass and two guitars, like no pedals very much, and we had the small station to record it. That's the sound is defining of that moment. When you have these other opportunities, that's where sometimes you start to explore in those places. So, you know, that's why it's a magic mix, magic sauce. That's why you guys got those few EPs, because they sounded like that, because that's where we all were, and now it's evolving.
Like you say, 6-7 years have passed. It would be contrary to what we've been talking about this whole time, as far as like being static, pigeonholing yourself, and I think the ideology of like, we started out maintaining like in a really dogmatic way, I think has like evolved into something a bit more forgiving and inclusive. And I think that, like Ali is saying, it's just learning from years of recovery, as well as just having the real desire to reconcile with ourselves as well as our surroundings. It's not black and white anymore, it's the gray area that we really continue to investigate, and it's an investigation that doesn't have any clear answers.